I think there are stands are filling up. First of all, Indraneel, thank you for inviting me on behalf of the India Football Forum, and thank you so much, Mr. Thomas, for having me over. Yesterday or day before yesterday, when I was actually invited, I was thinking of what to say, because quite honestly, deliberating on football, I think, is a lot tougher than watching a football game when your teams are not playing. But I know when your team is playing, like a Mumbai City FC or Manchester United, it's a little tough to watch the close games. I was just jotting down a couple of points which I thought were very crucial for all of us as football fans or stakeholders, because what we did essentially last year when we won the MDFA elections is also we held a football stakeholder meeting. I remember a couple of people from MCFC were there, a couple of people from all the fan clubs, be it the Arsenal fan club, Manchester United fan club, Chelsea, all of them. And of course, the tables of Premier League didn't look as they were looking now, so we were happy teasing each other. Now we're a little safer. But we were just deliberating on what we could do for Mumbai football and Indian football on the whole. Because it was the pre-World Cup time. World Cup was yet to happen. The Under-17 World Cup hadn't yet arrived in India. We were all working on it. And I remember when we started working on it, we had a couple of meetings with the government of Maharashtra. We had a couple of meetings with all secretaries of different departments. And no one really knew what the World Cup was really about, because it was, theek hai, Under-17 hai, bacche khelne wale, jaise MSSA ki tournament hoti hai. It was going to be like that. But then as we came closer to the day, I remember we had a meeting with the chief secretary, and then we started working on site. And there was a couple of meetings I went for with the police and things like that. And we started seeing the World Cup really grow. What was the turning point for me? And I think Javier spoke in the morning out here, did he? He did, yeah. What was really the turning point for me was the semi-final at DY Patil Stadium. I was standing there, Vijay Patil to my right, Javier to the left, and we were actually going around all across the stadium, seeing if everything was right, the spectator experience was good, and things like that. And there was a point where we said, okay, let's just hang around. Let's hang around the dressing rooms and see what exactly this whole thing is about. Because the first 2-3 games, we had cyclonic conditions, we had heavy rain, we had people still hanging around. This semi-final was what gave us goosebumps. And that was, I think, the true success of the World Cup. Of course, Kolkata had about 68 to 70,000 people, and I don't see it as a major success because Kolkata is known for football. I mean, it is a major success when you see that no stars in a team and yet you pull around 70,000 people. But at DY Patil Stadium, when we stood there and we saw the Mexican wave, that is what gave us goosebumps. It was about 38, 39,000 people packed into DY Patil Stadium when you had another game not even 100 kilometers away, India-New Zealand happening, and India was batting. That was the success of, I think, Under-17 Football World Cup in India. And that is what we all pulled together as a whole team. We had another moment there where we had all the flashlights go around, and I've seen that for a Premier League game, I've seen that for a Champions League final. I've never seen that for football in India, and all the flashlights coming up for two teams that are not Indian, for two teams that don't have stars, and for two teams that we've never seen on television before. How can that happen in India? But that happened, and I think that was the real success of the Under-17 Football World Cup. It was on the night of the finals that all these stats were coming in. And I was sitting with the AIFF president, Mr. Praful Patel, and I was teasing him. Because when the final stats came in of how many people saw the World Cup as spectators, the comparison was made with the ICC World Cup, which was incidentally run by his boss, his political boss. And I was teasing him, and I tweeted about that to him, saying you might have to answer a couple of questions, because the numbers were that a staggering 13,47,000 people had attended the Under-17 World Cup in India, whereas 12 lakh people had attended the ICC Cricket World Cup in 2011. That was the difference. But that is a success by itself. What I can call a real success for India and Indian football, or Mumbai football as a whole, is not just the successful running of a World Cup. We've had a couple of World Cups in cricket. We've had a couple of games like the Commonwealth Games and things like that. What I really think is a success story for us is what we make out of it. And the success story doesn't end. The success story has to continue, and it all depends on how we take it ahead as stakeholders of Mumbai football, of Maharashtra football, of Indian football. Because what we've gained from this World Cup experience is an administrative experience, probably the best in the world, running by FIFA standards. I remember Their checklists were in place 2 months before the game date, game one. A month before the game started, we were all at D.Y. Patil Stadium and we knew what was going to come up where. Directions on the road, what each department of the police, the traffic police, the municipal council of Navi Mumbai is going to do. Those checklists were fantastic administrative benchmarks they've set for all of us in India. Two, the buzzword about football. As I said, 13 lakh people and many more million viewers across the world watching football in India, the grounds we've created. And three, the new grounds that we've got as training venues. I hope that our government, whoever controls it, for example, in Navi Mumbai, thankfully, we had 2 internal grounds as training grounds and 2 external, one by Navi Mumbai Sports Association and the other by Navi Mumbai Municipal Corporation. But when you pass by it or when you pass over it flying in a helicopter or a plane, you're drawn towards it, seeing, oh, what's that beautiful ground? And you see, oh, it's a football ground. And most naturally, when it's a football ground, you tend to look at it twice because you've never seen a football ground like that. But what is important is to maintain those grounds in those conditions, the best conditions possible, and B, to give access to the lowest division teams to these grounds so that they have the best player experience and they have an aspiration to play further on that. Because coming from a cricket field, I remember when we play at Azad Maidan or Cross Maidan, these aren't bad grounds. But when you have to dive for a catch or when you're fielding at third man, you suddenly see some bottles broken, you see someone drawing lines of something which is not quite legitimate in our country or anywhere in the world, or you see people just hanging around there. You don't have the best of surfaces, but for football, the best of surface is necessary, and you cannot have something like an Azad Maidan at the current quality. We have to upgrade ourselves. We have to set higher benchmarks. And these grounds that have set higher benchmarks for us have to be operational and given access to the lowest division clubs or schools so that they have the aspiration to play good football. When we won the election, and I'm going back to the election because for me personally, it's a landmark in my life that I contested my first election and we won with a beautiful way in the MDFA. And when it's India, it's all about elections, and thankfully one election has just got over yesterday. But I think there are two major paths, or to grow football, there are 2 major stakeholders or role players that we have in our country. One is the stakeholders, as I said, the other is administration. So what can the stakeholders contribute to? Very often, when we held the first meeting of stakeholders, when I called in people of these clubs, I called in people of different people who could contribute via CSR and this and that, everyone thought I was asking for financial contributions, which I said I clearly don't want, because that is the least of a priority. What is important today is from the stakeholders to contribute in any which way is possible. If you are into real estate, if you have a ground for football, please open it up to kids, not to just the administration or schools, any kid possible. If you are into making footballs, try to reach out to the last kid possible and give it to him so that he can play some football. If you are into just a football fan, go visit your local game, be it an I-League game, be it an ISL game, buy the ticket and visit a game. That thrill is something different. I think that is what stakeholders really are about. From the administrative side, I think it is for us to look and introspect into what we can do and improve football, because we've been hanging around a couple of ranks here and there for football for the last couple of years, and then suddenly we had this spike in the last 2 years where we hit about 97 and now we're around 102 again. But whatever the rank may be, what we are doing for football is, I think, important as administration, because there are 2 sides to it. Look at cricket. The administration is so strong that today if you see the Indian team, I don't think you have many boys from metro cities, most of them from rural areas. Similarly, through the administration in the Mumbai District Football Association, we've tied up with Mumbai City FC. We're doing a couple of, what grassroots is generally, is it's a very fancy word where we have a grassroots festival. We call all the existing clubs to come and play, and we say tata bye-bye, go back home, we've had a great festival. I don't think that is true grassroots. What we need to do as grassroots is to essentially make football a natural game in Mumbai. If you go into schools, for example, the things we've tied up with, there's this beautiful organization called Just Play. It's tied up with the Football Federation of Australia, it's tied up with the Government of Australia, and it's tied up with the UEFA Foundation. It's called Foundation in French, Fondation in French. So these guys from the Just Play are doing this beautiful thing. They're going to schools, to municipal schools, and in 34 sessions of football and gender equal teams, they're teaching them hygiene, sanitation, and gender equality. I think that's a beautiful concept, because you're taking football to schools anyway, and you're giving them lessons of morality, of hygiene, sanitation, gender equality through football, so they're loving the game. What we're doing now is we're taking 3 programs of different associations together, or 3 bodies together, and bringing them to municipal council schools. We've started with baby leagues very soon in BMC schools, which is the AIFF program to get kids into football. Then we're getting Just Play for middle-aged kids. And as you go into 8th standard, 9th standard, 10th standard, we're bringing in a partnership with the Lions Club and the Mumbai City FC, where we're trying to see whether these kids can actually excel in football or 6 other sports. That is from the BMC side, of course, but from the administrative side, we're trying to push them so that they can love football and play football. To sum it up in a couple of more words, I think what we need to look at as football association and as football associations and probably stakeholders across the country is, while we look at ourselves, probably introspect, we need to look at things around us. One of the most successful models of sport in our country has been the cricket model. As I said, the administration is very strong. It's not just urban, it's not just in metro cities, it's gone down to the grassroots in the truest sense. It's gone out to rural areas. It's picked up the right kids, given them the access and opportunity to play. It's intertwined success and popularity together very well, because without success, you don't have popularity. And without popularity, if you don't have many kids playing football, you won't have success altogether. They've managed that equation very well, and I think that is what we need to look at. Secondly, of course, the TV numbers are staggering, and I know Star Sports is a part of this. But even though TV numbers might be really high for Indians when we watch La Liga games or Premier League games, does it really impact our kids out here? What we need to do is somewhere where football clubs are involved, where football associations are involved, we need to take those TV numbers or that inspiration from, say, an Angel Gomes who played at Mumbai Football Arena and now has signed up for for Manchester United. I hope he signs for Mumbai very soon. For Manchester United. Or Brewster, or Foden, all these guys who are World Cup winners, they've played in our city, in Mumbai. When we look at these numbers, when now we look at the Premier League games and we'll see them play, we had a beautiful opportunity of seeing them in Mumbai at the Andheri Sports Complex at the Mumbai Football Arena. We need to take these opportunities and inspirations back into our schools, back into our localities, and try to bring the kids more used to this whole phenomenon of football that's growing in our country, because the decade of this next decade, I think, is about football. And finally, I think it's time to make football a natural game in our country. Of course, I come from I don't say I'm a professional cricketer or whatever, but in school I've played cricket for Giles Shield, Harris Shield, and Kanga League, and so on and so forth. But if I remember the first game I played or the first interaction I had with sport, it must be a football, a ball size of a football, but I've hit it with a cricket bat. In class, you play rubber cricket, so you have an eraser and you have a ruler and you play cricket. You play book cricket. Similarly, a beautiful trend in Mumbai is gully cricket. If you go to South Mumbai or you go to Shivaji Park, on Sundays when you have empty streets, people just put stumps or people put whatever they have as stumps and play cricket. What we tried to do last year and last year with Mumbai City FC is make football a natural game. So we went to Kolaba, we went to Abhyuday Nagar with 600 kids. We made gender equal teams. We gave them a football, 4 cones, and let them play. And they started loving the game. And now they're asking for more footballs. They're trying to have games there, local games there. What we need to create is the whole perception that football is a really easy game to play. It's a beautiful game to play. And it's truly a World Cup when more than 200 nations play. It's only when this culture that comes into our mentality, into our country, that we'll have true success as footballing nation. Thank you. Jai Hind, Jai Maharashtra.